Hello and welcome, friends. My name is Casey, and I'm going to be guiding you through another Tuesday tutorial yoga tip. So, this series is all about using props. Last week it was the bolster, and this week we're going to be focusing on blocks. I absolutely adore my blocks. There are different kinds of blocks. There are foam blocks, there are wooden blocks, there are wooden blocks that are hollow, and there are wooden blocks that are heavy. These are cork, and these are absolutely my favorite. This is just what I prefer as a practitioner. But for you, I want you to decide what kind of blocks are best for you. So with that, I'm going to show you a series of postures starting low, medium, and high. And then all of these postures, the purpose is either to make the pose easier, more accessible, or you're going to work a little bit harder in the shape with the prop, or it's just going to make it more challenging, right? And sometimes even restorative. So I'm going to show you a combination of all of those today. So as you can see, I am just sitting on one block. Now, the block has three heights: low on the flat side, medium on its side, or tall, right? So for this one, I'm just sitting just like this. Now, if you needed to, you could definitely take both blocks, put them together like so. So essentially you have one cheek on each block. And then sitting up on blocks just allows us, very much like what we focused on last time, the bolster, it allows the pelvis to be nice and neutral, so you're not dumping your milk out the front or the back. Remember that cereal bowl, and you're not going from side to side. You're nice and even, left to right, front and back. So that's one use, right? Now, I could also stack these blocks. I could take 4 if I had 4, or I can take 2 and stack them like this if I need a little bit more height, right? And this is going to allow our spine just to be nice and tall. This probably wouldn't be appropriate for me because my knees are just kind of hanging out, so I would need something a little bit lower, but this is definitely an option. Okay, the next shape is Virasana, or what we call hero's pose. So that was Sukhasana, that was easy pose, the first one. This is Virasana. So this is if we were trying to sit the bum in between the feet. Now, if this is not going to work for you for your knees or for whatever reason, this is where you would add that block. You're going to take the block in between your ankles, hug the block with your ankles, and then sit back. Again, and the tops of the feet are flat. Again, you can also pop it up one, if that's easier for you. Again, we're working on having a nice straight spine and a neutral pelvis. So again, I can add another block. Can lower it down back onto the flat side one, and then stack those two just like I did the other time too. So just another variation for this. All right, so that was Hero's Pose Virasana. The next one, a little child's pose. So this time, instead of sitting on the blocks, I'm going to use the blocks for my hands. Now, this is going to make the pose a little bit more sensational, let's just say. So I'm going to show a couple of variations. So you're sitting back in your child's pose. Big toes come together, knees separate. You're going to bring your chest in between your thighs, and you're going to walk the hands onto the blocks. You may have to push them a little bit away from you, so just the palms are on there, and then the forehead comes to the ground. Good. So this is one choice. Really nice. It just gets a little bit more into the shoulders. And then again, also feel free to walk the hands a little bit wider if you have any kind of shoulder stuff happening. So if it feels a little too tight, take them a little bit wider. Bring the forehead down. Okay, another child's pose here is if we really want to get into the shoulders, we're going to bring the blocks back closer to us. Place the elbows now instead of the hands on the blocks. Hands come together in prayer pose, and then bring the forehead to the ground. Doing this definitely makes this child's pose a little bit more spicy for sure. All right, and then one of my favorites is for downward facing dog. So bring those blocks back to the top of your mat. I like to keep mine about shoulder distance. place the hands on the blocks, maybe even let the heels kind of like hang off the backside. So when we come into this shape, we're taking our regular downward facing dog. This is really going to allow you to get the length in your spine, but also feel the stretch in your legs. So if you have difficulty bringing the heels to the floor, this should allow you to get into that shape with the heels on the floor. So let's try it. Okay, hands on blocks. Inhale, lift the hips up and back. Good. Exhale, bring those heels down to the floor. Feel that stretch. And maybe you lift the heels up and bring them back down. Again, widen the hands if the shoulders need a little bit more space. Good. So feel that stretch in the calves. I'm definitely feeling it. Keep lifting the hips up. Good. Let the head hang in between the upper arm bones. Good. And then gently come back down to your knees. So a little bit different. You might even try alternating a downward facing dog with and without the blocks, just to compare. Okay, this is another fun one that I love. For this, we're only going to use one block. So I'm going to put the other one off to the side. We all love a really good forward fold. So bring your legs out in front of you, nice and long. Press through your heels. Good. Toes will flex back towards your face. Inhale, reach the arms overhead. So Paschimottanasana, seated forward fold. Good. Now, walk those hands to the feet. Now, if this is easy for you, you might try to make this pose a little bit more challenging, and that's what we're going to do. So to make this pose a little more challenging, we're going to take a block, place it in front of the feet, grab the outside edge of the block. What have we done essentially? Well, what we've done, we've just lengthened our legs by a couple of inches. So that's how this makes this, the block makes the pose a little bit more challenging because we're having to reach more, right? So you might be feeling more stretch in the back of your legs. All right, so that's one way to make a pose more challenging, right? A little more difficult. The next one we're gonna do is bridge. Again, just taking one block. I'm showing you all different levels so you can see all the different ways in which you can use a block. And this is literally just like a piece, a fraction of all the poses that you can use a block for. But I just wanted to show you like a little bit, just a few, right? The major ones. Okay, so coming down to your back, find your block, and we're gonna start on the low side. So walk your feet in so they are hip distance and they're close enough so that you can gently graze your heel if you lean a little side to side. Good. So from here, press into your feet, lift your hips, slide that block underneath your hips. Good. And so now we have a restorative resting shape here. We have our supported bridge. This is a shape we take in our yoga practice without props sometimes, and it would look more like this, right? So now allow your low back, your sacrum, that triangular bony piece at the base of your spine to rest on the block. And now it becomes restorative. Okay. You may also choose to go a little higher. So take that block onto the second level and see how that feels. So now this might be increasing the challenge. So it just depends on where you are today, how you're feeling, what you need. And then lastly, if it's in your practice and it feels right, you could take that block all the way up to the tallest height to come into a really bendy bridge. Good. And then if you're ever in bridge, remember, do not look around. You're looking straight towards the ceiling. We're already adding so much pressure to our neck. We don't want to compromise ourselves by turning the head. So when you're ready, lift up and then remove the block. Come back down. Okay. So one more to make this little tutorial complete. We're going to take the block in between the legs into chair. So we know how chair normally looks like, right? So we come up into a standing, inhale, reach the arms overhead, exhale, sit back into that chair, right? So this is where we're gonna take the block, we're gonna place it in between the knees or in between the thighs and then sit back. Squeeze the block because if you drop the block, it's gonna hurt your toes. So squeeze to keep the block from moving. Again, engages different muscles, makes the pose a little more difficult. Maybe sit back a little bit lower. Good. And then just exhale, forward fold, release that block. Come forward. All right, my friends. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial on blocks. Like I said, this is just a fraction of the postures you can use a block with, but I thought I would just show the most common ones. All right, friends, have a great rest of your day, and don't forget to drink your water. And I'll see you next time when we're working on blankets. Bye.